Have an opportunity here on a Sunday to go live here for the Hyliion weekly video. I think it adds a little bit of a dynamic here. I'm glad to do it. I'm glad to put the product out there. It's just been uncharacteristically light on the landscape, and I know there's a lot of creators out there that are putting out a lot of information. I think unfortunately that really speaks to maybe more strength and provides a little bit more substance where I don't think there's a whole lot there, and it certainly does set us up to continue to keep our eyes open to the horizon here and acknowledge kind of where we are. Um, there was a little bit of an assessment made on my last week's video. I know there's probably a lot of people that actually would prefer me come on and tell them what they want to hear. Okay. And some of the, I guess, constructive criticism, albeit not by name, came through because I do catch everybody's highly on content, absolutely, and I support everybody's message. I think the more churn that we have, the better. I really do. I think that the more excitement that we get around this name, the better. I think at its heart, if you do choose to opt for a position in this company, you take a step back and I think you look at it at its ground roots and fundamentals. It's a fun company to be involved with. It's really fun. You take the stock aspect out of it, and it's dang fun. You take the emotional content out of it, it becomes a whole heck of a lot more boring, but certainly does lend itself to forcing you to look at investing in a way that we are supposed to be looking at investing. Okay. And we look at this company and we say, okay, well, is the world a better place with or without it? And I think we can all agree that the movement that we're feeling toward a more sustainable future is very, very real. Now, if it's not real, and those types of initiatives are for naught, then I think we would be missing some of the undertones of what is going on right now, which I would consider to be somewhat of a calm before the storm here in this particular movement. And I'm talking about the leveraging of technology, talking about the leveraging of new opportunity. In the face of a decade that has started off, we're just started our third year here in this decade, horribly. It's been absolutely horrible. I could throw up a laundry list of problems that this particular time over the last 3 years has doled out. To start it off with the global pandemic. And I think it was an impasse of getting to the end of what was a historic bull market. And I think coupled with the reality check of a pandemic that we all entered into as a people and didn't understand where the light at the end of the tunnel was there for a while. I think that's fair. It's thrown a top spin in the global economy. It's taking people who thought that globalization was going to take root. I, in fact, was not one of those people. I've never been a fan of globalization. I think each of its individual nations in the world that make up its individual nations can leverage all kinds of different aspects: precious metals, precious commodities, business, different tourist attractions, and the stronger of the nations that have the more of those topics firing away, the more apt they are to enter into what we would consider to be a more developed nation. And I think here in 2023, I think all the companies are absolutely looking to make its way to the global stage, because it is the only way to viability and prosperity as a nation. But I think over the last 3 years, we have been placed in a situation where we became reliant on specific countries, and I won't name names, only to have those reliances called to the table during the very worst times. And those reliances unfortunately became weaponized. And the opportunity for new companies such as Hyliion to step onto the stage in the manner that they did got quickly stymied. And the SPAC debacle that unfolded in the early 2020s of this specific decade spoke nothing more than the excitement that existed at the time for some phenomenal technologies. And for those companies that emerged and entered into public markets via the SPAC process, unfortunately now they're having to really backtrack on that opportunity and coming to public markets. And I think they're having to do so with a black eye. I think Hyliion has suffered from this. I think in my evaluation of the company over the last 3 years, it's been nothing short of remarkable as far as their ability to progress along a timeline. I think maybe even Hyliion was a victim of their own circumstance with regard to their original projections to come out and say, hey, and this is the way I typically look at it now, is that if we're capable of doing this, it could mean great things. But I've graduated to a new place in understanding that those original projections that came out in 2019, 2020 were nothing more than just that. I think if Hyliion could do it again, I think they would not do that. I think what they came out with at the time was applicable for the time that we were in. And I think any investor in reflection, if nothing else over the last 3 years, has forced us to recalibrate your compass, recalibrate your expectations, to refine tune what it is that you expect to get out of investing, to really underpin the importance of having a diversified base in your application. Okay. I know that there was people out there that decided to make Hyliion Holdings their very first holding in the portfolio. I think you would need to stomach more than I would ever want to stomach for myself. And I tell you what, over the last 3 years, this has been very, very trying for me, having built up a significant amount of wealth over the years and going through significant downtrends in the market, only to see a leveling off and adjusting to a new environment. And that new environment is one that would see us against supply chain issues, that would see us fighting, although I do believe 2022 was our fighting year for the effects of inflation. I don't think that the latest signs of reflash on the inflation front are material. Insofar as I don't think there's any way to articulate, other than the fact that inflation is rolling off, that the interest rates hiked to combat inflation are doing nothing outside of what they are intended to be doing, and that is to be curbing inflation. And I believe that to be the case. Of course, in money, everybody wants to blame everybody, and of course, the Fed chairman is royally screwing up the economy. I caught a piece this week from Cathie Wood, who seemingly is taking the attention and putting it on the fact that we've accelerated interest rates to the tune of 0 to 6% in rapid time, and not to mention any type of explanation as to why we're doing that. We gave away 25% of the entire country's wealth via free checks to people. And then we wonder why inflation is impacting things now the way that they are. And I think to focus on perhaps maybe her own lack of performance and objective in financial markets, which historically have not worked. Let's just come out and say it. I think Cathie Wood is a brilliant, brilliant mind. But even brilliance in the face of a stock market can be humbled. And that's what's happening right now. And I think by doubling down on this whole, like, well, okay, the stock market's going to crash because we were raising interest rates for the first time. And well, since I can remember 12 years ago, which in a lot of people's mind is too impossible to actually reflect on and realize that interest rates have been far north of where they are right now. And that it is an actual sign of strength in the economy, that habit forming behavior from companies that were buying back shares because of the free liquidity in the markets is not a fault of the system itself. It's the fault of the decision makers that were making those decisions to try to take advantage of the current environment. Okay. Now, we don't need to react because we've provided an environment for those faulty decisions to be made. What we need to do is we need to adjust to the churn that's going on right now in current financial markets. And I think if I were going to chalk up the last 3 years and give you my pulse of where I think it will lend itself, I actually think that sooner or than later, we are going to emerge in the next bull market. I think the market is really trying to price out right now a 12-month earmark ahead of the times here. And the pundits on CNBC are trying to call it a month to 3 months to even maybe I would give it some consideration to suggest that they're looking as far as 6 months out. I say that to be generous because it seems like from week to week, it's a new futile game to get from Monday to Friday without talking about how everything's going to hell and how some of the greatest companies that have led us into this new century have somehow fallen off and will stop innovating. That somehow Meta and Google and Amazon are going to somehow just absolutely dissolve away and stop innovating and stop taking us into a new era. I've always believed that technology would be the sole cornerstone in my portfolio that would take me to a new place, and I'm invested in the Apples of the world. I'm a little different YouTuber in that this is the one piece of content that I put forward for the sheer sake of wanting to do so. That's it. Because again, like I said at the top of the stream, if you strip away some of the emotional piece to it, and you strip away the fact that if the stock was at $15, we'd all be throwing a party around the exact same company that we have right now. Do I think that the stock price is justified at the current level? No, I don't. I don't think it is. Do I think that Hyliion is helping their own case? No, I do not. Um, do I think that the SPAC era puts a wet towel over what Hyliion is trying to do right now in the marketplace? Yes, along with every other SPAC that came out during the SPAC process. Every market cap has been absolutely crushed right now. There's very, very few shining stars in the stock market. I hate to point out that the other company that I cover, it goes up every single day. It goes up every single day. You might have a retraction during the day, and then there's heavy buying going on to actually really, really show some buying interest. I don't think Hyliion has a lot of buying interest right now. I think institutions that are stepping into the name in some very, very large volume are doing so, and they're not being met with um, the aggressive buying tone that I think eventually Hyliion will need to provide some sort of infusion as to what it is they need to do to shake it up. Okay, because right now Hyliion is stuck in a rut. I talked about that last week. And the undertone of criticism that I got, which I always get, and I know that I'm going to get it before I put out a piece of content like that. Look, I was right on the money. Okay. You can agree or disagree with me all day, but the very source of the criticism, and I don't take very well to criticism unless I know who you are. I very much respect your professional acumen on what it is that you bring to the table as far as your opinion. about the topic at hand. I talk about a lot of things out there. This is just one of the many topics that I talk about on the Independent Investor channel. Just so happens to be one of my most enjoyable in the face of some pretty terrible timing over the last 3 years. But I keep my eyes to the horizon as far as seeking better days. One thing I will not do, and this was from the source of criticism. Again, I don't want to name names because the source of the criticism was actually seems like a pretty cool individual. Yep, pretty cool. But what I don't need is people coming on and suggesting that I am something that they perceive and that they can communicate that to an audience that they're trying to build themselves. Okay, let me explain to you why. What you'll get out of me on YouTube is the fact that I don't think me or anybody has the ability to come onto YouTube and say that Hyliion is going to $2. That's language that you'll never hear from me. Watch my stuff. You'll never hear it. You will never hear language from me to say that it has to go to $2 and it's going to 250 or it's going to 275. Now I put price targets on the company at $24, $32. Those are real. Eventually we'll get there. Those are not 12-month timelines, okay? And that was in the face of what I felt like was an exacerbated attempt to kick the dog when it was down, and price targets that were arbitrarily set in motion so that the big institutions could do exactly what it is that they've been doing over the last 6 months to 12 months, and that is separate as the retail investors have sold out of the position, that the institutional investors have gone the complete opposite way. Institutional investors are at an all-time high ownership over the company, and retail investors, as we speak right now, is at an all-time low, right? So if Hyliion is going to be a flop, it is going to be at the expense of the institutions, not the retail investors, right? So you could be very well right. And it will be the institutions that suffer from that. It will be the very institutions, right, that are putting multi-millions of dollars behind this name right now as the company has digressed in its stock price, right? Again, if it were at $15, we would be talking about the exact same company, a company that for all intents and purposes is not pre-revenue, but it is generating some revenue, putting its product out there into the marketplace to be tested on very low volumes, okay? And until that certification comes through to where it is a commercially viable product, and that's exactly the current environment that we have now, okay? So although I do appreciate the comment, it could very well be a flop and it could very well go out of business. I will congratulate you if that's exactly what happens, because again, I'd rather really kind of see companies like Altria go through a renewed sense of importance here. I know how important it is for our young kids that are coming up that are vaping. So we need these big tobacco companies to shift and continue to kill people off by the millions, and not kind of maybe, I don't know, root for a company like Hyliion. Like I'd like to understand what people's angst is for the most part on seeing this company come through. And that was the interesting criticism that I got from this week, actually, when I was able to review the content. And I knew they were talking about me, and that's totally fine. People fail to understand what it is about this particular holding in my current portfolio, and how it makes sense for me and how it could potentially not make sense at all for the vast majority of people out there. And up until today, February 19th, I've proven that all the way through. Now I just did my taxes today, and I'm still writing off losses from 2 years ago on this company. Had to take the liquidation. It was the smart thing to do. It was a hard decision in the stock market, not hard mentally, but it was a prudent decision to be made, and then to buy the stock back in the new year. And that's exactly what I did: is build the position back, lower the cost basis, and that's exactly what I've done. And I've actually increased the position well north of what I had going into that first liquidation, the only liquidation that I've ever had, with the intention of tax loss harvesting. The first liquidation that I made was in the company where I actually put 6,000 of profit away in the company. It was a sale at about $24 a share, on its way down. You guys remember the free fall when it actually fell from grace? And that was the only block of liquidation that I made in the company thus far in the last 3 years. The price point to where I was buying the stock, just to give you some level of idea of evolution, I bought the stock on the way up, all the way up until around the $20 mark, watched it go all the way to 50. I was up, my goodness, I was up $35,000, $40,000 at that point. Um, should I have sold it? No, I don't think like that. I don't blame myself for those types of things, because I understood that the greatest amount of profit is yet to be realized on the company. So again, I've got some people here in the group who would consider the company to be, on a path to flopping, right? Um, I find that, an interesting analysis based on the progress that's been made by the company. Now, if its current lack of news, which is what I'm a little bit concerned with, not so far as that it affects the company, but because I just honestly feel like they don't have a whole lot to talk about. And coming on and sharing with you guys that I think, okay, Hyliion's going back down to $2.06. It doesn't do anybody any good, because nobody knows that. And I really don't believe that's going to happen. If it does happen, I'll be wrong. And the people who contend to come on to YouTube or pretend to come on and call it and say it's going to do this, right, with the attempt of saying, "See, I told you so. I told you exactly when to do what it is that, you should do when it is that you did it." You see the game, right? I'll tell you the right answer, and I've been doing this a long time. If you want to own the name, own it long. And you don't have to play all the wishy-washy games. If you own the stock now, and I'd really like to understand some of the positions that some of these people are working with to be so charismatic about the stock at these levels. In other words, if you own 100 shares, that's fantastic. You get some big money at play. 300, that's fantastic. It can be a life changer. Stock goes to $100, you got 3 grand out of the deal. I mean, a lot of people right now, the savings rate in this company is falling at a rapid pace, and the credit card debt is actually increasing at a rapid pace. This is where we are. Um, if you're one of those people who would suggest that this company and every company out there is going to hell, you're probably one of those people that are sitting on 2 or 3 million bucks, and you don't need to take any risk. You're good, right? You're happy. You catch my dry humor in that. The sheer reality in the whole thing is that most people are a effing disaster, and they should probably do a lot less criticizing, and a lot more listening to the psychology that actually goes behind stock market investing, in the correct way. Because if I were going to put my alliances with the consensus of the retail community, and just chalk up all of the fascinating discussion that I pull off of the Yahoo thread with regard to Hyliion and what I should do with my current position, or I bought into all of the criticism on YouTube that I get for not being charismatic enough on the company, and them not really understanding why it is that I own the position, and that, if there's anybody that has the ability to see the thing through, unlike the vast majority of retail investors, that somebody is me. Okay. So you can keep on keeping on trying to reinvent or invent how it is that retail investors are supposed to get involved in the stock market. and sharing that with people. The irony on YouTube, YouTube is a fantastic cesspool. The very king of YouTube, I would suggest, is probably somebody that has the first name with starts with an F and the last that starts with an I, and the majority of his followers lose money. Cesspool, right? Don't you think there's probably more to be studied there in with regard to why tens of thousands, if I dare say hundreds of thousands of people follow that message only to be subject to massive losses? That's the number one person, not the number two person, not the number four person. Okay. This is the number one person. All right. It's actually being recognized in way of accolades right now for his devoted work and philanthropy on YouTube, taking people's lives and actually flushing it down the toilet. See, the very nature of that relationship is flawed in and of itself, because I encourage you to look within and find your own personal best. You want to point fingers at me, you want to come in and ha ha ha, Hyliion's going to be a flop. That's fantastic. It just speaks to your own inability to sit back for 2 seconds and just listen. Okay. Now, right now, this company that is suggested to be a flop is actually working over the road Class 8 trucking. Okay. Just like Tesla, hauling super heavy cargo, which is Cheetos. Okay. Because they've got so much battery weight, it's not economically viable for them to haul, I don't know, concrete pillars. I don't know, anything heavy. But Hyliion right now is engaged with some of the who's who in Class 8 trucking actually hauling. We should have some more color on that come March 1st, when the company is scheduled to roll out their Q4 for the remainder of the 2022 year, which in my assessment has been, it's been transformational. It's been everything that you can expect from a young company and then some. It has not been, you know, it has not been on fire with results that have just resulted in the company going to the moon in a moonshot. I mean, out of the companies that I cover, there's only one company right now that is absolutely showing resistance, and this company trades at 84 cents a share. It is incredible. I watch it every day. The stock action just is defiant in the face of a stock market that wants to drive everything down, and everything is getting re-rated, if not already have gone through the re-rating. Amazon and Meta and some of the larger companies, Google, have gone through just a massive re-rating, down 50% plus. And this is the 50% rule that I talk about when I come on, and I suggest that if you can stomach owning 100 shares of the company, and you can imagine that share position being split in half overnight, that's the very test against your risk tolerance that you should be exercising on a normal basis. Do it the same way with your portfolio. Can you handle your portfolio going down, 50% over the course of a bad year, right? The S&P was off, just over 30% at one point in 2022, but not quite as bad as the pandemic low that got down, close to 50%. That was really a big drawdown. Now, it didn't stay there, did a V recovery. Everybody was talking about a W recovery, or a Q recovery, or a LMNOP recovery, whatever the hell that means. I was buying March 20th of 2020. I was buying the market because I'm independent. I didn't have to go on to FE and have somebody tell me it's okay to do what it is that I do. And let me tell you what, man, I don't need anybody's stamp of approval to continue to do what it is that I do, no matter what. Kathy Wood says that Bitcoin's going to $1 million. Right on. That's a fantastic headline. I can come onto YouTube as well and say, Hyliion's going to go to $1 million. Everybody think I'm crazy. Kathy Wood says it, and everybody's like, maybe Bitcoin is going to $1 million, and not just sitting back and being like, wow, that's kind of a moronic comment. all of her funds are down 80, 90%. So it's probably in her best interest to shed some light elsewhere rather than where it should be. And that is scrutinizing her own portfolio performance, or the lack thereof, there is, in her ETFs. hmm hmm Why do I say all this? I don't say this to impugn people. I just am asking for personal accountability in what we're trying to do. This company just makes sense for me. And if I look at what they're trying to do and what they are setting up to be able to do in the Class 8 space, it just makes total sense. Their relationship with PACCAR and Peterbilt and Freightliner is very, very real. Okay. So if you're suggesting, as I suggest in the title of the video, that the company is going to flop, then it would suggest that those relationships are going to sever. Anything's possible. Maybe they get bought up, which I think would probably be a very, very premature decision in the company to actually be acquired, which is my biggest fear in dabbling in this market. I don't own Hyliion the same way I own Johnson and Johnson. Okay, completely different mindset. All right, I don't come on and state the obvious that Johnson and Johnson is going to flop this week when it's been around for 120 years. Wouldn't make much sense, right? But 10 years down the line, what are we going to reflect back on with this transformational company that's basically saying, look, there's a way that we can shift away from our reliance predominantly on diesel and transport goods in an alternative fashion, right? We know that companies are dabbling in the space. The 15-liter engine speaks to that, okay? The transition to renewables in way of renewable natural gas, the transition not only in over-the-road trucking, but if you think that somehow the transformation to alternative fuels is also going to flop and we're going to go back 40 years in the progress that we've made here in 2023 to resort to, let's just burn the hell out of diesel and just continue to pollute the environment. Now you could say, well, Ryan, compressed natural gas has a pollutive element as well. Now we're having an educated decision about the current scenario in that we are looking to move off of our reliance on diesel. I didn't say that it's going away, nor am I in that camp. You start to suggest that there is a hiccup in the Brent crude and the West Texas crude markets, you will see a ripple in the economy like no other. Now, if Hyliion places 5,000 orders over this next 2023 or the remainder of 2023, maybe the stock goes up $15 to $20. Okay, no big deal. Nothing will feel that ramification. The market will be fine. The world will keep on going. But if you start talking about affecting the supply of oil, start talking about some of those independent nations or some of the largest producing nations. Look what happened anytime OPEC will cut back on the price globally. What happens to the price of diesel? Very, very important. I don't think that that's what this initiative is all about. There's some schools of thought that believe we only need to be focused on electricity right now and electrification as being the sole driver behind this. I'm not in that camp either. I'm really not. Look, I think if you're one of those people that want to be called upon with the Tesla lemmings and you think that your contribution to the world, aside from being a complete pompous and self-indulged asshole, right, is good enough just by driving an electrified Tesla, no problem. To each his own. I don't care. Oh, Ryan, you're just sour on how amazing Teslas are. I don't think they're amazing. I think they're cheap, and I'd never buy one. There's 50 cars that I could put in a line. There's 20 trucks alone that I would say that I would rather own than a Tesla. But again, just like the irony on YouTube with the followership that plagues people, and it has throughout the history of people, people are happier with their nose up somebody else's asshole. And they're not happy unless that nose is in said asshole. And I'm here to tell you, I try to disregard that at all cost. I really do. I think it smells. I'm here to tell you that it smells. And I think it's better if you just make your own independent decisions about what it is that we do with what we do. And that it's just that simple. When it comes right down to it, I probably own more than the average bear, but a significantly less than some of the other retail positions that I own in this company. But I own it just like an institution. I've had a long horizon on this ever since I bought it. Nothing changes with regard to people's opinion on the company, and coming up with short-term attributes of the company as to what justify selling the shares here. Is that what you want for me? I'm just curious. I mean, I don't want that for me, but if I was going to follow and find an asshole to stick my nose in, like everybody else does, I'd love to hear your idea as to why you think it's better for me to control my money by zigging instead of zagging. That would be lovely. Thank you. I would love that. And look, I'm not here to fluff your ass. Okay, all right. I come onto YouTube. I don't do this for a living, so I don't have to coddle to people and what their expectations are of me and what it is that I need to say or am governed to say or what people expect me to say. Okay, I don't do that. All right, I don't do that. I'm giving you what I think are the absolute goods for the people who actually stand in a share position in this company, as little as 25 shares, or maybe in the upwards of tens of thousands of shares. I don't know. I fall in between the 10 and 20,000 share owner position, and that's okay. I sleep well at night. I've got a hell of a dinner that's waiting. I thought this was a better conduit on Sunday to actually deliver the information, because on Friday of just a couple of days ago, I delivered my very best live stream that I've ever delivered in the history of the channel. Mhm. It's called Coming Into Your Own, my friends. There was no scripting when I sat down to talk about this, because I think what a lot of people fail to identify with is the very psychology and the very mental approach by which you embrace your stock market opportunity. You'll find really, really quick that what this person's doing over here is all my business, and what this person's doing over here, this is all my business too. And if I can just pick a little fun over here, and if I can just subscribe to these channels and throw some venom out their way, it's going to somehow materialize into some success for me, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I know, carte blanche, I throw it out there. Most people are pathetic. They're freaking pathetic. They can't take one second just to look in the mirror and be like, man, I'm really just I'm kind of an asshole. To be honest with you, I'm an asshole. I spend no time looking at what it is that I can do. I actually just spend the majority of my time just coming to people and actually identifying what it is that I think they should do. You want to know how much I do that? Zero. I could care less what you do. Care less. Care less. I sit back from an observer's perspective and I watch the group think materialize on what I have the confidence to come onto YouTube and chalk up as an absolute cesspool, especially when we're talking about people's money. You want to talk about like arts and crafts? YouTube is fantastic. It's a treasure trove. You want to talk about some other venues out there, fashion, style, makeup, diet? Fantastic. I could take a picture of my stomach 6 months ago, and I could show you my ripped abs now, six months later. You guys would fall all over yourself, man, to come into this independent investor guy channel that'll show you how to get six-pack abs in 6 months. Hmm. But when you're talking about personal finance and you're talking about the emotion of people's money, whew, boy, you better buckle up, man, because it's interesting. It's crazy what people expect of you. It's awesome. Proper, great to see you, man. You were the first one who popped in here. I think Proper is probably one of the few people out there in the world who has the actual notification bell that's actually set to the YouTube, so we can consume some Ryan when he feels saucy. I feel good tonight, man. I just spent about 14 hours droning over my tax nightmare, and just finished this afternoon. I didn't get to produce content this morning, so I wasn't even going to make Hyliion content today, but decided a little bit against it and decided to pop on here a little bit before I go and indulge in some sockeye salmon this evening. There's Jared, who's got some sockeye salmon right there. Actually, that's the largemouth bass that he likes to show off on the channel, hoping for the best. You know what I'd like to do is condition our retail community to speak along the lines of defensive positioning and understanding the risk reward profile, the importance of dynamic position building with different strategies. I have a big position in Hyliion, but it fits into its own strategic category of small cap, micro cap investing at this point, really. But a little more thematic investing in that I think over the coming 5 to 10 years, I think this theme is going to play out. I think this shift to electrification is very, very real. And I think the success of Tesla could indirectly impact 𝑪𝑎𝑛𝓋𝐴 HYLN. I think it could materially impact some of the majors out there, like a Cummins, like some of the major OEMs. I think some of the mandates and incentives out there are very, very real. I think currently looking at the markets, I think we have a hard time in trying to extract some sort of material benefit right now from the mandates and the incentives that they're coming. So are those going to just be an epic flop? No, those are on the books now. They're coming. Whether or not there's going to be any type of company out there that's going to be able to service those needs on behalf of the OEMs, the customers, and the fleets. I say customers indirectly, but the fleets directly and the OEMs directly to actually service that need for the fleets. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the story materializes. It's going to be a lot of fun. We certainly need a break. That's for sure. I'm willing to wait as long as it takes. It just feels like it's a little bit too early in the party. Mike Stevens says, "Go Thomas!" Fantastic. Rooting for the boy. I wonder if Paul is going to show up for some fun. I'd love to have him on. That'd be great. If you know, through the we've had our tits and tats, that's for sure. But I kind of do that stuff for fun. In all actuality, I wish the guy nothing but the best. Nothing but the best. Because I know I've been doing YouTube a long time enough, and people, they presume that they know me, and you know, they presume how I feel about certain people and alliances. And I think a lot of people would be very, very refreshingly acknowledging of how loving of people I am. Yeah, wishing everybody the very best. If he came on tonight, man, I would just want an update from the guy and what he's been doing and wish him all the best. Doesn't bother me. I live in a country where I believe that people can say what they want and how they want to say it. Do I believe in everything that's being said by most people? No, I don't. That's why I come on, share my own voice, because anymore, I'm pretty much the only YouTube channel that I watch. Cynical, self-centered, egotistical. I don't know. Most people I can't stand spending 2 or 3 seconds watching because they're just irritating. I'm sure people feel the same about me, and that's all. That's okay. If you don't get any value out of it, it's no problem, man. Go find something else to do with your time to find your way. But I think this message does motivate a lot of people. I haven't seen his feed come. I don't know if he's making content or anymore. I just wish him all the best, and hope he's doing fine wherever it is he's doing it. Appreciate Becky making her way on here on a Sunday evening. I know I didn't have the Super Bowl to contend with tonight, so figured I'd come on for just a few minutes anyway. Offer the weekly Hyliion content as a live venue. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be a lot of fun Sunday. It would be fun if he came on. I just don't think he covers my stuff anymore, which is okay. I always kind of thought that the level of devotion that you would have to take to own a name like this It's easy for me. It's just I'm just holding the position. So it's okay. I don't go wishy-washy from day to day. I go through swoons of observation, and through that observation and analysis, I question if now is the time, based on some subsurface merit, as to why they're being so quiet. I have no idea. We may know March 1st. I don't know. If he comes out and he gives the same old song and dance, maybe we will go back to 100 and a half, a buck and a half. I don't know. I don't really care. Okay. I'm not investing for March 1st. I'm not investing for Q1, Q2. I'm interested to see what happens in the back half of 2023. But to be honest with you, my friends, that's kind of where it starts with me. Um, I'm interested. I think 2023, based on my taking of the deadlines and the checklists and putting them into my mind and crunching it out and sharing with you guys what I think then that's probably about the time where we could have some material pieces falling into place. Could I be wrong? Yes. Said this many, many times. Could be wrong. Who knows? Who knows? Hyliion doesn't seem to be in any type of a rush. They don't seem to be worried about anything. Thomas Healy talks as if he's running a $5 to $10 billion company. He's not. It's a penny stock right now for all intents and purposes. I wish he'd be a little more humble. To be honest with you, this guy, he comes across as if he's got the goods, and he did, and lost it. Now he's got to gain it back, and gaining it back is going to be significantly difficult. And I do hope he does it. I believe that he will. I think here at the end of February 2023, it might be a little bit premature based on everything that we know they're working on behind the scenes and what's going on right now with winter validation and the ongoing approval. I know my buddy Dave press Thomas Healy on Twitter in the comments. I'm off that. I'm sick and tired of being ignored. I won't play that anymore. I just won't do it. I don't care. I just don't care anymore. I don't. I certainly care what this company is doing. I'm certainly convicted on the direction and their vision. And I love investing in the company. So, but as far as me offering a comment that just gets ignored again, I'm just not going to do it again. I'll leave that to Silent Alert and Andreas, who are phenomenal people. And they've been putting some really cool content through. Uh, kind of lean, kind of stretching a little bit, but hey, they're doing the best they can to just try to scratch, I think, in what I would deem to be kind of a cold period for the company. And we'll see. We'll just see how it materializes over time. It's all good. Julio's in the house, man. Hello, Ryan. What are your thoughts on Carno? Wow, that's an awesome question. I think Carno has probably got about 150 million to 250 million dollars of value, and they bought it for 37 million. Now that value is going to carry with it a price ticket of about 90 to 100 million dollars of, let's just call it R&D, to start to realize that material benefit to the company. And it is so premature to start to talk about a burn rate when the actual burn rate of the cash from the SPAC public offering is a subject of a lot of people's scrutiny on the company. I'm one of them. We're burning cash at a alarming rate with no real promise of follow through, and that's really what I'm looking for in the back half of 23. Can this company put forward a product in such a volume to give some sort of an indication that their op and capex can be met with comfort? I don't have those answers for you, my friends. That is indeed what we're looking for. If we don't have a company that can generate revenue, it's not a company. I'm well aware. You don't have to speak the obvious to me. If this company cannot make money Should they make money? Do we want them to make money? Can they make money? Those are all valid questions. The best question is, will they make money? Because if they can't, this is all for naught. Okay. Somebody will come in, save the company, buy the IP, and eventually we will see a version of a ERX on the road flying the flag of another company that has come in and gobbled up Hyliion cease to exist. Okay. The warehouse will be surrendered to somebody else. The IP will be transitioned, and the people there will be given their walking orders or opportunity to take on with a new company. They got to sell. I get it. This will be the biggest flop in history if this company just continues to sit on laurels. And that my expectations from a scale of 0 to 10 for this earnings call closing out 2022 is a 0. I have no expectations, none, 0. I will be looking at the information that's disclosed, and I will be offering my own response to that said information once released, but not until then. I will not speculate this is going to be some sort of barn burner quarter. If they come out with information that should have been previously disclosed through the quarter, that'll piss me off, actually, because I think shareholders have been drug enough through the mud. I think there is a bit of hope with this story, where I don't typically like to invest on hope. Okay, I like to invest in fundamentals. I love the company's vision for where they could go, but they have to execute. They have to execute along that plan. Where and how they end up realizing that end is anybody guess. Will it happen at the end of 2023? I'm here to tell you, my friends, no, it's not. Will there be some indication that the pieces are coming together? I hope so. Will it be 2025? Will it be 2027? Will it be 2030? I don't know, my friends. I don't know. But this stock has the opportunity to crawl itself out of the basement. If this thing gets up to 10, 12 bucks, I'm super stoked on that. Super stoked. It will be a sign that the company will have an opportunity to succeed, not thrive, succeed. And dare I suggest, at this point, all I want to see is some remnants of survivability. I'm very real, okay? I'm not getting on here with pom-poms jumping up and down. I'm not doing that, okay? The situation right now is very, very real, okay? And the complacency and everybody's interested in my product and yada, yada, yada. And we're involved in this CARB NHTSA certification that we nary have any type of color on the progress that's being made on that front. My friends, without that, we don't have a product, and we certainly don't have the ability to generate revenues. While all that stuff's still in play, I'm not here to speculate in any other capacity than to suggest that we will inevitably reach those certification ends. Absolutely believe we will. Absolutely. There's no reason to believe otherwise. There's no reason to believe that. They've got a fantastic product, and I think it'd be fun to have that in our rear view mirror, in understanding that they were able to achieve the certification. I think it'd be great. Okay. And I think it's inevitable. Are we going to be there tomorrow on a Monday? I don't know. I don't know. Don't really care. In 10 short days, we'll understand and be provided the opportunity on the quarterly call to understand a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes. And I'm willing to wait. It's no problem. It's not like I sit around twiddling my thumbs, man. I'm busy doing other things. Holy smokes, man. Hyliion is one very, very, very small, minute, little spot on my overall complex portfolio, yes, but life in general, life certainly takes the dominance over my time. But yeah, I really think that the Carno is going to be a game changer down the line. But I think to get the technology in so early in on the game, risky, yes. Could it pay off big? Yes. we will have to see, my friends. I'm a complete and utter bull of it because it fits and aligns perfectly with what Hyliion is trying to do. I get it. And they were contacted a long time ago on the Carnot generator. Don't think for a second that this is just a new initiative within the last year. It's not. It's been in the works for many years to be materialized now. And I think, look, if there was going to be a strategic purchase that was going to be had during the burn down of the SPAC funding that came through for Hyliion, what better product would you rather have them acquire than the Carnot technology? Let's put it a different way. You know, is Hyliion a speculation at this point? Oh, in some capacities, yes, it is. It absolutely is. Remember, for the last 3 years, and I won't even count 2022 as being, okay, I will give due credit. All right, let me be fair about this. Okay, 2 million revenue is insignificant. It's not pre-revenue. There's a big difference between those two. The reason why I suggest that to be important is Hyliion is not capable of taking 100 truck orders right now for their powertrain. They're not capable of doing that. So does it really matter? I think the deeper question in understanding if they could materially down the line accept those larger orders, it becomes less of a speculative play when we understand more color about how the integration to the OEM is going to happen. Okay. Once the integration happens, speculation dissolves away. Now, the greatest material benefit, unfortunately, my friend, and you know this, Andy, is that taking on that opportunity when it is the maximum amount of speculation defines investing in and of itself. Now, if you want to value invest and buy Procter and Gamble, J&J, which I own all those, and I do, it helps really give me some level of material buffer against what I think me and you could probably agree at this point in some capacities is speculation. You have to be kind of careful with that word because it's very vague. And I think a lot of people play in the OTC markets, which Hyliion is not part of the OTC markets, nor do I see that happening. But I think they play all too often in the OTC markets and they don't understand how to evaluate companies. Now, if you are a subject of your own demise with regard to your ability to look at a story and say, that sounds like a really good story, I'm going to put money on that said story, and then I'm going to monitor it and I'm going to hope for the best. That to me is maximum speculation with very little, if any, type of fundamentals that could surround that story. I think Hyliion, for example, is quite different. I think if you go to the other company that I'm covering right now that's in a related category, but not the same, with plastic upcycling, you guys know if you cover the channel, I'm talking about Aduro Clean Technologies, which is an OTC company, is trading at significantly anemic volumes, is pre-revenue, okay, to the tune of not having any material benefit whatsoever being brought in-house, okay? But fundamentally, okay, it's the stock market analyzer that determines the level of fundamental thesis or basis behind whether or not they want to put their investment into a specific company. The dollars that I subject to my value portfolio in way of an Apple computer, guys, that's easy money. I'll buy Apple tomorrow on the blind. You put a blindfold on me, I'll buy Apple tomorrow. I don't care, right? Am I getting it in the low 140s? No, it's run up to 155, right? I don't care. It's no problem because the fundamentals are there, and investing in companies like Procter and Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Home Depot, Nike, right? Some of our regulated utilities doesn't carry with it the same requirement for identifying that value when there's not a lot of eyes on trying to extrapolate that data from those said companies, okay? Just my 2 cents on it. I think with regard to the speculation now, we're playing a dangerous game between the burn down and their ability to prove to the market in general that there's going to be enough interest in the marketplace for their product, uh, 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 um, forecastable demand over their product, right? Anticipated demand over their product, real performance, and real bottom line payback to the customers and fleets that they're aimed at serving. I actually believe that stuff is pretty darn good. That's where the speculation starts to minimize for me in looking at how the tutorials that I get back on the Hyliion product are they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Okay. Fleets like this product. Drivers like this product. Everybody that covers and goes down, they're pleasantly surprised by what they see, or it's too good to believe, as the Western Dairy Transport customer just recently said about taking on the ownership of the hybrid products. And the owner said, I just wanted to run it through the rigor and prove myself right, that it was too good to be true. And I could not do that, right? When you hear little dabs of stories like that, the speculation starts to decrease and you start to really understand that if this company is going to end up materializing on what now is speculation, then that right there can help you form your thesis on whether or not it's worth putting a small position on or no position at all, right? If you came to me and said, gosh, Ryan, I think this is a speculative play, man, I'm not comfortable with it. Right on, man. No problem. Let's talk about what it is that you see, because I sure as hell share what I see every week with this. And I think sharing the story when it's probably at its maximum speculation is probably where a lot of people are not willing to go. I am. I'm willing to go there. And I'm willing to go there for share owners in the company if I can continue to evaluate this company on its basis, its merits, its vision, its leadership, and its slow as a snail pace, right? But a pace that's marching toward an inevitable end, then I will continue to share what I see with the company. And right now, I think it's evolving to a very, very special place. And I think we're going to look back on this as probably being the maximum risk time with the company. And if the risk is too much for you, don't take a position in the company. Doesn't mean that you're a bad person. That's all too often, man. People get misconstrued and they start to confuse, like, Ryan's a really good investor. He must be a really, really good person. You don't know me. I'm a phenomenal investor, but I'm an even better person. And the two really don't speak to each other, to be honest with you. My life away from YouTube is completely different than what I talk to you kind folks about my unique and independent perspective on financial markets. That's it. That's what makes the conversation go round. It really does. Thank you, Andy. That was a good question, man. I really appreciate it. Don't let people get to you, man. I don't know. That's probably for me, I guess. RG Flicks came in and said it's going to be a flop. That'd be awesome. I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right, because I tell you what, this world doesn't need a solution like Hyliion, right? We'll just continue to ruin it for our kids. It's and that's the thing is I'm not a tree hugger. I don't I'm not a staunch supporter of the green initiative. I don't even know what that means. It sounds like a great headline, but I am a supporter on what this company is doing because I know enough about generating electricity that if I look at what they're attempting to do with the e-axle and the components of the 8-minute charge battery and the generator set that's run off of CNG, all that assembly right there is really, really smartly done. It's really smartly done. Now, whether or not it's too novel for the fleets to buy in, we'll see. You could be absolutely right. It could be one of those ideas that just on paper looks really, really good, and in the rigor of Class 8 doesn't materialize to anything material, right? It'll be okay. The funny thing about it is, I think people come in and they're like, they think that they can say, Hyliion's going to be a flop like this, right? And it somehow affects my decision making or affects what I like to reciprocate what it is people are trying to tell me. In all fairness, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from, right? But all is fair in love and war, man, and it's all good. It's all good. I still hold a bit the price of natural gas went up. Yep, totally. I totally agree with that. Um, I think the political headwinds with CNG is probably a bigger headwind in my opinion than the actual usability of CNG in the fleets. CNG, RNG is becoming much more viable, and I think the dollar of credit that is now possible to start to render, we need to kind of start to see some fleets grabbing that incentive to put CNG into the fleets. But we'll see, man. RG, thanks for your time. I appreciate it. That's a hell of a thumbnail there, man. Very cool stuff. Very cool. Got some cool people in the house, man. I got your tongue. No, it's all good, man. I like it. Hey, man, somebody come in here and spend some time with me, man, on a Friday. It's all good. It's all good. I appreciate your time. Very cool stuff. Do you think Thomas Healy is a good CEO? I think it may be slightly premature. I tell you what, for a guy that's been at the helm for 3 years, I think that I think there would be more material risk with the company if there wasn't a Thomas Healy at the helm. This is his invention, just like Tesla is Elon Musk's. And you don't think that that adds some value when you actually have the founder, owner, and CEO at the helm, as opposed to somebody that comes in maybe with a renewed sense of passion, blah, 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 whatever. Thomas Healy has earned to sit at the helm, and he's earned to sit at the helm until there is material reason to remove him from the helm. Now, the only thing that has not sat well with me in my evaluation of Thomas Healy over the last 3 years, simple, simple, selling stock. That's it. That's it. That's it. My charge to the CEO is to drive share owner value. And it hasn't been till recently to where I've actually heard that come out of Thomas Healy's mouth a few more times. And I expect him to say it at the onset and at the conclusion of every public delivery that guy makes. Why? Because I feel like that's the CEO's job. If you don't like that responsibility, go private. Go private. Um, I do. I do think he's a good CEO. I think the success of Hyliion is not going to be made on the shoulders of the CEO alone. I think it's going to be a collective, collaborative effort as a team to garner enough attention in the industry to help provide some level of domino effect in the industry and garner some level of organic churn to where this product that they have a vision for really starts to gain some momentum in the marketplace. I think without that momentum, I think they're going to have a really, really difficult time trying to gen up 10 orders at a time, right? I think there's probably more interest from the fleets, and that interest stops there because they full well know that Hyliion is a brand new company. There's going to be a time where that trust is defined amongst the fleets based on whatever small trials, whatever tutorials that they get from other fleets as well. Guys, they talk, okay? Um, and once the floodgates start to open where one fleet's really taking a bite out of the Hyliion opportunity, others will follow suit. Why? Because they have to. Not because they're forced to, but because they have to based on the knowledge and the learnings that they now know, which I think now they're probably just about as lean on that knowledge and proof of concept than they'll ever be in the evolution of the company. This will only improve over time, right? And as that story improves over time, we'll look to have some of those orders that are generated a little bit more naturally than mechanically unfold into the future. That helps. But cool. Hyliion will come good. We'll see, man. We'll see. Steam engine is the way. Yeah, Steam's pretty interesting. There's a lot of maintenance that goes into Steam, my friend. A lot of maintenance. Very cool. I thought that said Little Detroit. That was going to be cool. He says the demand is there, and all the fleets have spoken are very enthusiastic, but all that remains an article of faith. Totally agree. That is what's causing such angst right now. Not sure if it's, you're right. you're right. Your thumb on the pulse is right to call it angst. I'm just not sure if that's fair of a criticism or because I feel it, right? Shareholders have angst, institutions don't, right? So it's worth putting that out there to suggest that people need to invest more like institutions. I, I, I cringe because retail investors can't get out of their own way most of the time to really look at this the way that the institutions. What is wrong with sitting back and suggesting that because BlackRock is okay owning this, that I, the independent investor channel, little Ryan, little engine that could, doot, 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 is okay owning a small piece of the company? This is kind of the way I look at it, you know? Um, and I just think your question speaks to wanting something in a time. Yes, yes, I want those things too. And perhaps maybe I have a little bit of angst based on the speed at which I would like to see them move in, but that's not the speed that they're moving in, right? Okay. And that therein lies the importance of stock market investing. Do you think the institutions are deliberating every single week the way we do? Of course not. I think that's a material benefit of retail investors is that we can collaborate on ideas. I can come in and I can talk to a guy like this, right? Who's like, hey, Ryan, hey, look at it. Me and Rick, it's really cool. We have a bullish thread on Hyliion, always have, but Rick sometimes has brought forth an explanation to me that are not within the confines of my noggin, right? It's a benefit to me. I don't know if he would say the same about me. Maybe I've said something that's been like, man, okay, Ryan's pretty insightful there. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. But the cool thing about it is I can say that I've gotten benefit. I have. Okay. And I often suggest that if you can teach a specific topic, then you'll also benefit from it. It's not just a one-way street, guys. I open up the live stream not to come on and just take up your time on a Sunday. No, no. I think you guys will understand at the end of this year, or maybe by next year, or 2 years down the line, who cares? If this thing materializes into something that I think is special, won't it all be worth it? Won't we look at these times at $3 and be like, geez Louise, I don't, maybe I could have afforded maybe 100 more shares. I don't know. Maybe, gosh dang, Ryan came on every single week and talked about the opportunity that was there, and it was right there in front of our face. And we scoffed at it, and we came up with reasons as to why we cannot, and why reasons why they will not make it, and why nobody will buy their product, even though we had the answers right in front of our face that the fleets are exercising their option to put this solution into the rigor of Class 8. They are doing it right now, right? We are on the precipice of earning CARB and NHTSA certification. My friends, do not underscore how big that is. It's a big, big milestone. All right. Hey, Ryan, I'm back in the US. Welcome back, my friend. Very cool. I hope your travels abroad were everything that they were meant to be, man. Very cool to see you again. Very cool stuff. Great to have you back, Rick. Welcome back. VIP, the red carpet treatment for Rick, man, on the Independent Investor channel, man. He's going to make a visit to the channel one of these days. He's going to sit right next to me down in my studio, right next to me. We're going to talk. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have fun investing in this company. There's no doubt about it. It's it's one of those things, man, that speaks to what life is about, guys. Okay, life is not all about just being safe all the time. Step outside your comfort zone every now and then. All right. The only way that I've ever got ahead in this life is based and predicated upon the risk that I've been willing to take with my wife, with my career, with my portfolio, with everything that I do. Right. I wouldn't be who I was without risk. Calculated risks. The risk that has went into Hyliion is larger than some of the other risks that I've taken in the portfolio. But I look at other names and I tell you, I'm very dismissive of a lot of opportunities that come my way. I'm very bullish on two right now that I have going. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for doing this every week. There's a ton of good stuff here. Love the Friday nights too, man. Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you. Hope you're having a great Sunday, man. Awesome. Awesome stuff. Notifications are definitely on. That's cool stuff, man. Victor's in the house. Great to see you, Victor, man. Awesome. Awesome. We got Phenom in the house. Phenom gave me a blessing before my Friday live stream. That was a good product. You guys need to catch that. Yeah, Friday was a good one. I sold out on that one. That was a good product, man, for sure. Look, man, if the financial education can get 50,000 views, I think I deserve at least 1,000 views on that one, man. It's a good product. In all fairness to Jeremy, man, I used to watch his stuff and I used to hope he would say different things than what he did say, but unfortunately, he just couldn't keep me around based on the stuff that came out of his mouth. Sorry, that's my criteria. I just don't follow to follow. I don't do that. Okay. That is cool stuff. It's Saeed in the house. Hi, Ryan. Most of the time you focused on Hyliion. If you can cover Lucid and Rivian. Gosh, I just don't cover either one of them, my friend. It's a fascinating space, and I should probably include them in the discussion when we're talking about the EV revolution. I think some of the majors are stepping on board right now with some pretty interesting electric vehicle offerings. And it's exciting times. I think it's all good for the industry. You're probably right. And I thank you for that comment. That's pretty interesting. When I get a few moments, I'll look into those. I think I probably should, but I don't. Hyliion is my bull, and that's kind of where I'm sticking with my conviction, man. Iron, thanks for the presentation. I think the certification is the very most important next step. No, I agree with that. In order to garner bigger interest from the OEMs, I think that's real smart. You know, if you're a large fleet owner, and even some of the medium-sized ones, every decision is so nimble, is so important. Everything has to be run to ground. Isn't it in their best interest to wait until the timing is right? I don't think the timing is there. And I think to your point, I don't think it's going to be there until that certification comes through. I really don't. I totally agree with you, Freeman. Thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you leaving your comment there in the thread. Very cool stuff. That's right. Market's closed tomorrow. Thanks. I appreciate that. He's not stupid. No, for sure. That was, yeah. You know, it's funny, Rick, how some people spin this as being a negative thing. Like, gee, didn't want it. So they chopped it down. It's like, oh my gosh, I tell you what, it's the whole pink rock analogy. You missed that when you were abroad, down under. You missed the pink rock analogy, or maybe you caught it. I don't know. But it's like you try to convince somebody that the rock is gray, and they're just like, no, it's pink, Ryan. It's like, look at the rock, man. It's gray. It's gray, and they're just like, no, it's pink. It's like, hey, you can't save them all, man. It's all good. I got Matt in the house. Win Lambo, fantastic. It's good to see you, man. Good to see you. Happy Sunday to you. Nice to hear about your perspectives. Any comments, advice on early investors where we are already quite red? Yeah. My position is to hold until significant orders to rebuy, for sure. So anybody that bought in the 30s, 40s, 50s was subject to some FOMO buying. And you don't need me to tell you that you're a bad investor for doing so, okay? It's a mistake that all good investors, bad investors make. And it's okay. Don't beat yourself up over it. If your conviction is the same on the company, consider picking up some shares here at $3 a share, right? If not, go elsewhere. Put the shares on ice and look at other areas of the portfolio to fortify, which I've done. I've owned shares of Hyliion for now 3 years, and I've fortified all different angles of my portfolio, all of them. I didn't stop investing. Is it the idea that we're stopping investing in Hyliion and everything else? No, of course not. I'm still investing in the S&P 500 heavily, I might add. I'm still buying quality dividend positions in the portfolio. I just opened a SEP IRA last Sunday, funded it with $1,000. I'm going to start funding it with some business income. Max funded the Roth IRAs just a month ago, $13,000. Continuing to DCA, improved my, I still do 20% out of my paycheck. I declared on my live stream on Friday, I do about 2,500 to 3,000 easy a month, easy DCA, right? So it's easy to not focus on Hyliion so much when you're focusing on continually evolving the portfolio, and it's tough to do now in the face of volatile markets, but I've just seen it pay off too many times in my evolution as an investor of doing this for 2.5 decades, that I've learned that the deeper the discounts, the better buying opportunity that it is. And that's a phenomenal note to end on, guys, on a Sunday. I went for an hour and 20. I was meaning to go for a half hour. I do apologize. Not really. I enjoy it. Ryan, do you have uranium positions or opinions on the space? Yeah, I'm very bullish on uranium. I'm heavy on UEC. I'd be careful with that. I would talk offline about that. Um, I try to stay away from that altogether. If I was going to buy uranium, I would go ahead and go with Cameco with their positions in the Athabasca. It doesn't get any better than that. It's a space that I typically just don't cover, but Cameco, Rio Tinto would be the way that I would play uranium. I would be careful with UEC. I'd be careful. Um, there's not a whole lot of people in that company making those things happen, and it's the same people that are like marionette, right? Pulling the strings, and we've got triple inferred in the ground. There's a lot of commodities plays there at play. UEC probably is the most quality out of the space, absolutely. But there's one particular individual that I've looked into, and I don't really trust. I don't really trust it, man. Giving you my instinct. Um, Commodity space is an interesting one. We think there's stuff there, therefore you should buy our stock. We're not making any money, and we don't intend on making any money. We're just saying that there's inferred resource in the ground so we can sell it to somebody else and hopefully realize more value than what it's worth now. It's an interesting place to play in, not no doubt about it. I just feel like all too often the share owners are the ones that suffer by massive dilution, and the people who are making the money are the people who run that very company right there, and a few others, and nobody else outside those circles. When does it become a point where the share owners actually get paid in a company like that? That's an interesting question, right? Yeah, they're sitting on some phenomenal companies in the same ranges as Rio and Cameco, but when does the share owner get their payoff? You know, when do they realize they're not producing, right? They've got strategic, they have strategic reserves, right, in the warehouse. I've done my research on this company, and I'm not really sure how that benefits the stock owner. Yeah, okay, if the price of uranium doubles, which it absolutely could do, how does that benefit the share owner? That's the deeper question. hmm I'm glad you came on, man. That's a cool question, and I was glad to give you my insights on it for sure. 2025 is the time to see how the stock price will start to reverse. You could be right. I'm totally okay with that. I love the name. I think there's going to be a time where people look at this and they're like, man, there's only one Hyliion. I had a chance to get it at 3. Now it's at 25. Now it's at 50. Now it's a household name and people are buying it because they're buying into strength. And it's the same old story as before. Deal with that, guys. We're gonna close it down. I'm gonna take with my evening and chill out. It's been a well-deserved chill out. I wanted to offer this product today for you guys. I certainly thank you for your time and coming on a Sunday. Really appreciate the support, and hopefully you found some value in it. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Leave your comments at the bottom of the video, guys. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you this Friday on the next live stream in the Independent Investor channel. Be well, and we'll catch you next week.